and mystery top. What you doing this week? Did your life take you to any wild locations, Henry?
To what? I was completely frozen there. Could you please repeat the question louder so that I can hear it?
How goes it, Heine man?
It goes. It goes. It's working
Did
hard.
you get to any extravagant locations this week? The Grand Canyon? Easter Island?
Johnny, I would say the last exciting place I went to was we went out kicking headstones on Memorial Day.
What a good
And
boy.
one of them we tripped on was, do you remember Kim Hamilton from high school?
Sure.
Who was tragically killed like right after graduation in a car
Yeah.
accident. We're walking along and all of a sudden it's like, it's her headstone. How sad. She missed much. So that was tragic. And so that led into thinking about, what do we want to happen with what the glory it is that you see before you in Heine, with my eternal remains. And as I walked through there, I thought, I think I would kind of like a candy apple red casket and then as a monument, I would like to get, a statue of 3 of the hottest girls I knew from high school, dressed in maybe Hooter shorts and tank tops, weeping over my headstone. And then I thought, no, I can go with a simple cremation, and which used to be when my parents' day, which was maybe 13 years ago, $800.
Cheap.
But now it has jumped all the way up to like $3,000. Plus there is what you're doing for the environment, which is, your carbon footprint when you're torched goes way up, way up.
Really?
So now there is a new thing out there for you can now have your remains mulched. And so with that process, your carbon footprint goes way down because, you're feeding vegetables. But the cost is still $7,000. So I don't know what the rub is in there. And plus, really, is your carbon footprint lowered that much because you've still got gas for the chipper and all of that? And then, I get thinking, it's like, well, heck, I've got a 5-horse Troy-Bilt out in the backyard. I could probably do all of it, except for maybe the head. But I'm sure working with some cantaloupes or something, I could probably get out to 3-point range. So, that's what's on my mind, Johnny.
That's
Have
a
you thought
lot.
any about that?
I had once heard of the company that's very intriguing, where they put your remains in a bait ball and then send you to the bottom of the ocean off of Jupiter, Florida, and the fish just grow out of you. That seems like an intriguing, that becoming part of a coral landscape really does sound like a good use of bones, doesn't it?
What do you think would come after you the quickest? Like the triggerfish? Have you ever seen one of those take apart a sea urchin?
Well, yeah, I love them. And their lips, they're very attractive. What's the weirdest thing you ever saw diving? Can you remember?
I know we went on one dive and we were on a frogfish expedition, and I ended up kicking all of the frogfish with my fins. I was not the popular guy on the. Did you see that tender frogfish? You just hit his fin and
Just destroyed him and brought up all the mud. Yeah, when you move your feet a lot when you're scuba diving, you're not well liked by your other divers.
I don't think anyway, I don't know if anybody really saw me kick the frogfish. I think I turned, and there were quite a few of them, and they don't have fins. They walk around on the bottom.
Cool.
And so, I don't know. That's what. How about you? How about you?
Mine have never been super exotic, but boy, they're cool. The barracuda. When you dive the wrecks in the Keys, the barracuda just chill And they have got sweet, sweet, gnarly teeth that look like someone has just pushed them in any manner at all with a pair of pliers. So that's the coolest ones. Down when you're wreck diving, you do see quite a few cool fish, octopus and eel, moray eel, are they're pretty cool looking. So I'd say that and in Mexico, the seahorses that are just floating by, just floating by and just grabbing onto stuff with their tails. That's pretty cool, pretty fun. So did you come to a consensus? Was it the red Corvette with the Hooter girls? I mean, what did you decide on?
I think that really is the what if I can talk my wife into it. I don't I don't know if she'd be.
That's really what I would. The worshiping Hooter girls.
This is going to be. This conversation has been uncomfortable on so many levels, and I'm sure we'll get a lot
You'll get some
of hate
feedback.
mail from our listener.
Our one listener will have some notes. I can imagine the post-it notes being written out and put up on the side of the headboard. So it's at the end of June now. So we're only about 2 months from doing this a whole year. Is there anything that changed your mind in the year of doing this? Has any feedback happened that surprised you or changed your thoughts about podcasts in a year?
It's always been, be careful what you put out there on the as a part of your permanent record.
Sharing
So,
too much.
yeah, I can't. That is the whole. Is it? Are you putting too much of your own personal? Because all we have is our personal experience, and do you really want that out there? It's not like we can talk about the ins and outs of the P. Diddy case. It's not like we're going to sit around and research that to where.
Probably not, we're probably not going to take the time to research that.
So you just talk about your personal stuff, and then that
Is horrible and horrific.
Yeah, and it only ticks off the ones you love. Nobody else is listening.
No one else is listening. It just destroys the lives of those that are closest to us, which all great podcasts do. So, are you the type of person who uses the Hey Google and the question? Do you ask a ton of questions about stuff you need throughout the week with the AI?
No, I'm still typing stuff in on chat or no on Bing.
Nice,
I don't,
nice.
it's which I need to come to the party and get moving on that, but I'm not very tech. I'm not a real tech savvy guy, and I don't have a lot of time to just sit around and play with stuff like that.
Consider how to use it properly. They did a story about folks that do use it, and 67% of the people who do use the AI to ask questions and get responses are very polite to the AI entity. And can you guess why they said they're polite?
I cannot guess because they're well raised.
That's what I'm hoping for. Um, about 20% of them said they're just polite to everyone and everything. Delightful. That means their parents were nice.
I say, I am constantly in my truck talking to the truck saying, please give me directions to the nearest Beans and Brew. Directions, Beans and Brew. Liver lammy chops. Could you please change my radio station to Barry Manilow's best hits of the 70s?
Liver lammy chop face is coincidentally what's weird is liver lammy chop face is a pet name that I have for my wife. What's the weirdest pet name you have given to your wife?
Not going there.
No?
No, not that.
So mine is
That's
definitely liver lammy chop face, and you call the radio, the nav in your car that. So
Mrs. Morrison or your ladyship,
yes,
Royal Highness.
that's safer. That way you don't get feedback when you're addressing her
On
normally,
the pod, on the from other, children, things like
other
that.
sources. So they people admitted to why they're polite to the navigation and to the AI, and it was because they do fear that AI will take over and that it will give them a little a little ladder up by being polite to the AI so that the AI won't kill them as quick in the end. I thought that was really thoughtful.
Well, it is. It's all connected into Skynet. And pretty soon you're going to be saying,
Maybe.
Liver Lammy Chop Face, can I please have access to my bank account?
Pretty please, can I use some money off of my credit card?
Yes. I need
So
food.
the companies that control the AI have asked that people stop being polite because it creates a ton of useless software, and the amount that it causes to overload the system is about another 15%, which is, I guess, a ton of energy. So they would prefer us to all just say directly what it is because all the politeness grinds up the gears a bit more. I never even thought of that.
I'm sure they're in there, going, did he just call me Bunkin? I just, Bunkin is not.
Can I take you to Dunkin' Donuts? No, you son of a. Mine does not, over the years, has not understood me very well. It seems to be improving now. Have you noticed that? That it does recognize what you're asking lately?
Mine has definitely recognized the word selfish pork face.
It's the
It now
most
knows,
common phrase.
then I'm not being polite. Just like they say, don't be polite. Okay.
I will no
Selfish pork
longer.
face, directions to the nearest barbecue house.
I love that. I guess folks our age do not rely on the tech quite as much as the Gen Z. One thing that the Gen Z, they did a report this week, and said that the Generation Z folks are more likely to listen to their peers than their doctor for health advice. Would that be something? Would you ask me about your polyps and trust me to know the answer more than the doctor?
Well, I'm not, I'm in generation MGB. So I am always looking at some sort of text, usually a pre-war text on medical stuff. So, I don't know, how old are you if you are one of these Z car people?
The Gen Z, I think it's the younger folks. Isn't Gen Z kind of that, that kind of
5 and up?
I think Gen Z, if I had to guess, Gen Z is probably that, the 18-year-old groupish right now,
Hmm.
18 to 30ish. So they must get their medical advice from TikTok and their friends. I don't I don't know. They're probably the people that did the Tide laundry experiment where they ate the pods and stuff. I
It's
worry.
an ancient Chinese secret.
That dates us. That was a great commercial.
I just, if I have any medical problems, I just remember I am stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid stuck on me.
We've been thinking about jingles a lot on the podcast since Connor was on, and I am glad our one listener liked Connor on the pod because I enjoyed Connor coming on, but I've gotten
Well, it
feedback.
is his mom.
This is mom, so she's a bit biased, but she was excited to have him on. Well, I
That
also.
makes that makes every 50-second day of doing this worth it.
Absolutely.
It's all worth it now. So
I
if
love.
you had an urgent medical problem, would and let's say liver lammy chop face is not there to start pumping on your chest, would you go to TikTok?
I for sure would not. I mean, not even. I mean, I wouldn't even think of doing that. I probably would just dial 911.
So if you had someone else had a medical emergency and you had to perform CPR on them, and say, I've heard that people have done it with the bathroom plunger, but also if you had to perform CPR, what would your what would your earworm be while you were pushing away? What song would you perform CPR to? Because,
It's important.
well, it's there. There's a song that they tell you to use. Do you
Well,
know what that song is?
I had always heard that it is Iron Man by Black Sabbath, but I don't. Is that true? Am I on the right path?
Let's see. Well, no, I think you would pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. That's probably a little slow, right?
It's you don't want to use War Pigs because you'd have that da 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 da.
There would be chances for death between the pauses. That does
You wouldn't
conjure
want to
some
pick like
images.
the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald either.
Man, Gordon Lightfoot. That would be a slow death. The person would just ask you to stop and just, leave, let me die.
Could you
Let me
could you
die.
move that tourniquet up to my throat?
And just twist it off. Well, that's awesome. So, what is the song that you're supposed to pound to?
Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Uh, 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 still alive, still alive.
That's a
And then
pet.
I always question, do you move your feet too?
Well, they start to pitter patter. You can't help it. To that song,
Right. Yeah.
jeez. I mean, the chorus will get you pitter pattering, tinkling
I
all
wonder if you
over the
get the
place.
same results to Nights on Broadway.
I don't think you would. No, no. In fact, I can guarantee you that that would not be the case. But I do like that you know that answer. Are you CPR certified so that you can help someone with their heart attacks?
No, I'd be the guy running past the defibrillator straight to the bathroom to grab the plunger.
I wonder if anybody's successfully used the plunger. I mean, now that you mention it,
They have. It's been reported that that happened. They used the plunger successfully.
it has been reported.
I don't. Maybe that person hadn't showered that day.
Well, can you imagine waking up and you've got this poop-filled plunger on your face and it's chunks of toilet paper on your cheeks and you're alive, but you've just been worked over with a plunger.
Really struggling to get a seal against your beard.
Oh my goodness. Did you get any feedback from our last pod that had Unky Dave visiting? We gained a listener, because his wife watched the pod. So we have two viewers now.
But none of his kids. His kids were a hard no.
Heck, no, they're sick of listening to him anyway. My kids sure as heck won't spend 30 minutes with me.
Hey, and while you're at it, get out there and mow the lawn.
Get, get a job, you bum. So,
Daddy, we're out of Cheese Whiz.
so have you got any, or have you had any springtime surprises, summertime, where you have a bird's nest in the yard? Has that ever happened in your household?
Yeah, of course. But how about you? What have you had any fledgling eagles in your chimney?
No eagles, but constant birds. We do get nests, but it always ends so horrifically that I want to smack the nest off the tree right off the bat, because it ends sadly with this little decimated chunk of birdie every time. Have you ever
What?
had it successful?
Oh yes, about 2 years ago we had robin's nest in our window, so that we could walk up and just in the guest bedroom peep in at the progress. And they had, um, I think they had 4 babies.
Holy
It
smoke.
was insane. And and as these robins develop, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And soon there are these enormous birds all trying to struggle and stay in this
This,
little tiny nest.
yeah.
And we're trying to keep the dogs away from them and walk around. And, of course, it's over the cement. So their first flights, gotta be good. Or else you're going to pay the price, kids. And they all fledged out. They did. They all made it. They got huge. They're piled on top of the nest, like heaping out of a bucket of chicken. And then they all flew away. One they don't. It's not like, okay, this morning's lesson is flying. It's like, guys, it's time to hit the streets. And they all bail out, and they're gone in a second. And then,
Awesome.
like parents do, the parents are looking for them for about 6 hours. The parents are like empty nesters, and they're looking at the nest and each other. And, kind of like me, I just kind of slowly drift off and start watching Barron's Roundtable endlessly.
Well, that is the best success story ever because I never have that. We
Yeah,
have
and
them.
we got to watch it.
That's pretty fun.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not going to focus on the ones where they decided to set their nest up in the bed of an abandoned Land Rover. That in the first day of summer, the eggs are fried.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a little hot here occasionally. Did you check the
Poorly
weather?
chosen. We have them again this year, so I'm hoping for any success at all. Now, were your 4 eggs that delightful light blue color? Can you
Yes, I
remember?
took it out for a paint match on my TR4 because I wanted them robin's egg blue.
Nice. Yeah, we've had them many times, and it's always ends in cruel Cornish game hen dead bodies all over our yard. So the parents are attentive, everything seems to be just fine, and then, of course, it ends in a horrific nightmare horror story. So
In New Mexico, we had Roadrunners,
cool. I love
and
those.
and guess what Roadrunner's favorite meal is? Baby bird.
Is it?
Yeah, you'd see him running around. It's like it's got another baby bird.
Man, that's kind of cruel. How about that? We wouldn't have voted for the Roadrunner as often had we known about that in Looney Tunes when we were little.
We had one that I saw for about 3 years running around the office. That it had lost a foot,
So it
so
was
it
just a
had
stump.
one good foot and one stump, and it just it was
Not
didn't
a,
even slow down.
pretty cool. We had, as you know, many years in Palm Springs, and I love the Roadrunners. They're crazy fun, and there's quite a few of them. So that if you ever go to Palm Desert or Palm Springs, you will see them, boy, in the summers. They are still out and about, and they are fast and fun. I didn't realize that they were quite delightful as far as eating baby birds, though. Kind of a
There's a lot
bummer.
of there's some cowbird out there, the cowbirds,
What's
and
that?
what they do is they'll find another innocent victim bird, and while the bird's out hunting for worms, they come into the nest and they eject the babies and lay their own eggs and then let the other birds raise their young.
That's perfect. Like, I'm not dealing with this stupid bunch of kids.
It's like that's very 2025 on the
That's,
child rearing.
yes. You don't mind laying the eggs, but you sure don't want to have to deal with insurance.
Yeah, saying the goodbye, the college education, all that crap. Just let the stupid robins do it.
I like that. I like that. Kids are nice parents to their kids, but I don't think I was that good. So they probably would have done better if they'd been in someone else's nest A lot more loving, that's for sure.
In our neighborhood, we have the delightful little quail
Well,
that
they
are
make a
being
lot of
followed around. They have their babies and they get followed around. They're like little walnuts chasing mom and dad.
adorable. And quail do seem to have an adorable sound. They have a adorable morning song. The quail. Fun.
They mate for life.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Swans and quail mate for life.
Probably lots of other birds, like the cowbirds that lay their eggs in other nests. It's like,
They're mated.
but the trick is finding the right girl down at the bar. It's like, yeah, I don't want to raise the kids either. I just want to stay here and drink beer
I just want to
and
drink
dance to
beer,
our favorite song.
play games, listen to Bruce Springsteen.
Listen, I think they're listening to Junior Brown.
Nice. So it is coming up time to do our fancy summer stuff. Back in the 80s when tanning beds were red hot, did you ever prepare for a summer vacation by getting a fake tan so that you're ready for the beach? Did you ever get golden chocolatey hue brown or orange?
I struggled and struggled. I shopped and shopped, and I could never do it. Was to find the right banana hammock to really give me the tan lines that I wanted to get.
You really show off to the friends.
Is this one too big, too small? What do you think? Is there too much butt cheek poking out?
Never
I
too
don't know.
small.
Should I
Banana
just go
hammock.
with some? Should I just go with some of Liberace's bicentennial hot pants?
How did you know about those?
Who
I
can
thought I was the only
forget?
ones that
It
saw
was
those.
just 50 years ago. 50
We
years ago when he had 49, when he had the bicentennial hot pants. Boom. Did you ever go to the Liberace Museum in Vegas?
I did not. I met him once
Really?
ordering bakery goods. We were in Palm Springs
Was
and
he with Scott?
he wasn't at that well, Scott was out getting Brunschwager, but he was by himself and I was in Jensen's Market. There's in for those that go to the desert, they're Jensen's Market. They're a little smaller boutique grocery store. I was in buying my buns. I'd like some fresh cross buns. And there, Liberace was in his slippers. He had some jammy type pants on and slippers, and he was getting some bakery items for Scott. So
I'll bet he had his hands all over the buns too.
he needed to touch. He was very tectonic. He needed the pulse of the buns before he could choose them.
You had to get ahead of him at the bakery, like try to figure out the ones that hadn't been manhandled yet.
Oh no, oh no! Everyone that he rejected, I immediately took and licked. These are Liberace touched buns. He was extremely, speaking of being polite, he was extremely polite to the lady that was picking the buns. So he was just as delightful on stage on PBS Money Nights as he was in the Jensen Bakery Market.
His shows were extremely funny. He was very funny.
Entertaining to
I would,
do.
I'd sit there and watch him and the leaping lizards, it's Liberace.
Yeah,
And he
he
would
knew how to
fly
show.
in the cape and talk about his rings and jewelry, and then Scott would drive the Rolls Royce onto the stage. And then they did that hit piece on him
Poor guy.
that didn't make him look too good. What was that? Was that Behind the Candelabra?
Yeah, that's you never want to get the documentary on your life. Nothing ever comes out of those good.
Yeah, they're going straight for the dirt.
Yeah, they what can you think of what they would be dredging up for you? What's the worst dirt you can think of? What would they dredge up for the Heine man?
They would probably go out and say, they'd go digging around and they would say, I can't believe he tightened his connecting rods with this Harbor Freight torque wrench.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's amazing any of his engines held together. A Harbor Freight torque wrench? Are you kidding me?
So Bush, it's just not right.
Right, they'd find a lot of reused parts. I've been struggling with a 1959 light switch here at my home that if you juice it with enough contact cleaner, it works. But if it dries overnight the next morning, doesn't work.
Nothing.
So that kind of stuff, I think that's probably the worst of it.
Well, you have led a delightful and carefree life. Mine would definitely be all those poor girls that I traumatized in high school on dates. I was horrific to them. My gosh, I
What
was
was the
so
one you? I missed it. I missed it, the one where you got her throwing up her ice cream.
spewing. It was like two faucets that had just been opened when you opened up the haunted house, and the brown is flowing freely from the nose and the mouth.
That was just from laughing, right?
Yeah, root beer
I
floats
think that
after a
deserved.
dance.
I think that deserved a wedding proposal right there, and you probably didn't do it.
I did not
You said like, you
coincidentally.
can't hold your ice cream. Forget it.
If you can't, and this really gut-wrenching part of most of these situations were they were my fault and I handled them very poorly. That was the second time she spewed all over everyone's food and ran out of the room. The second time, I literally ran out of the room trying to have some dignity, and we were terrible. I'm a terrible human.
I mean, I'm sure sooner or later, her mom was going to send her out with a bib just to protect the prom dress investment.
Most of those Most of those homemade prom dresses would not have made it to a second event. I don't know if you have too many recollections of it, but we got into fender benders like every time we went to a dance, and someone's dress would magically fall apart like every time. Now, the fact that I was using wire clippers to take care of the back hem
I
so
thought you
that they would
just
fall
you're probably getting,
just the right tweak. No, I
man, this
took
one's a
down the
tough one.
dresses. So goofy.
Good clean pun.
Weird, silly memories of the dances. I remember one time we ended up for sure spinning around when you were driving. We were going through an intersection, and it was, as always, freezing, snow, ice on the roads, and we spun around pretty good.
No, we bopped a blazer.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I bopped a blazer in the back, just came up to stop, and it's like, oops, slippery boink. And I put a ding in the irreplaceable grill of my dad's Chrysler New Yorker, and he never forgave me. Never. Because
That's a
we had the
dad for you.
car forever.
That's a dad for you.
The tuna cruiser.
And no one sued any of us.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that all of our shenanigans never got us sued. I'm very happy, because then I would have had to have murdered someone in debtor's prison, and the end of our podcast would be very different. Well, Henry, another week has gone by. See you next week.
Keep on Batusi. Why do I have a dot on my forehead?
I don't know what that was. We became in